I'm here at St. Stephen's Catholic Church in Portland, Oregon. Today is the 5th day in our Novena to St. Joseph, spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary, patron of the Universal Church. The year is that of our Lord 2024, and we continue with the Miracle on the Mountain by Alden Hatch, the story of Brother André, and the Shrine on Montreal in Canada, published in 1959 by Hawthorne books. Now, we got through about half of chapter 6, and boy, the rest is good. Too long for one episode, but we're going to continue where we left off. The shrine now having been dedicated, and so we continue. During the rigors of a Canadian winter, the chapel could not be used publicly. However, Brother André lighted a lamp before the statue of the Patriarch, which burned night and day, and he or one of his confreres went there almost daily to render homage to St. Joseph. In the spring, a benefactor, who still remains anonymous, gave a Way of the Cross, which was erected canonically by Father P. Theophile, Franciscan. And by the way, up until very recently, Stations of the Cross had to be erected and blessed by Franciscans. That's the devotion that belongs to the Franciscan order. So you see this station up here. That was erected here in the parish of St. Stephen in 1924, I think, or whenever it was, by a Franciscan priest. It's only recently that other priests can put those up and dedicate them. So it was done correctly. And then on June 1st, 1905, the Feast of the Ascension was celebrated at the oratory for the first time. Mass was said before a considerable group of the faithful. In August, Father Henri Rowe of the parish of Saint Laurent, accompanied by most of his parishioners, celebrated Mass in the chapel on the mountain. The faithful were unlucky that day. A terrific thunderstorm broke just as Father Rowe finished his sermon, and the dripping congregation broke and ran for home. Now keep in mind here that there's just a place, basically the sanctuary is enclosed, and the seating where the people are is outside. So the priest and the altar and all would be protected from the thunderstorm, but the people are out in the rain. Nevertheless, more and more pilgrims came to the oratory, and Brother André's fund for enlarging the chapel to provide shelter for the faithful grew. Much of the money was provided by his friends, the firemen. There was a fire station back of the college where he often went to chat with the men on duty. They became devoted to him, and their successors of today, the firemen of Montreal, still go to the Basilica every Wednesday to help the hundreds of sick pilgrims who come that day to pray to be healed. Now, why do they come on Wednesday? Because Wednesday is the day dedicated to St. Joseph, every Wednesday. We continue. In the winter of 1906, Brother Abundius built a beautiful new altar, and that spring the Feast of the Ascension was again celebrated at the oratory. According to the newspaper La Presse, it was an imposing religious ceremony. The temperature was superb, and the attendants numerous and diversified. That year, Father Georges A. Dion, who was Superior Provincial of the Holy Cross, took up residence at Notre Dame and became superior of the institution. He was a strong, stocky man with a high, broad bow and kindly eyes, but a most determined chin. And as provincial, he of course knew about Brother André and was prejudiced against him. In fact, he was one of those who regarded the little brother with considerable reserve. In a year or two, Brother André won him over completely, and the superior supported him faithfully in one of his greatest ordeals, but at first he made matters very difficult. On one of his first days in office as superior of the College of Notre Dame, Father Dion went to inspect the oratory. He saw a few crutches and braces donated by those who had been cured standing against the wall. "Take those things away," he said. "We don't want to be accused of superstition." But Brother André pleaded so effectively, supported by witnesses to the cures, that Father Dion withdrew his order. However, he imposed severe discipline on Brother André and opposed the enlargement of the oratory. In this regard, hear the testimony of Brother Osea in which he provides the first clue to Brother André's grand design. Here's the words of Brother Osea. When Brother André desired to improve the road to the little chapel, he asked his provincial, the good Father Dion, for authorization to spend on the road $300, which had been given him for the chapel. The Father Provincial showed himself to be unfavorable to the project, but ended by giving in to Brother André. A little later, Brother André brought him another $500 and asked him permission to spend it on the chapel, whereupon the Father Provincial demanded of him, "But what is this? Do you want to build a basilica up there?" And Brother André just nodded his head. As time went on and the alms of the pilgrims accumulated, Brother André finally got his way. To preserve the wooden building, its exterior walls were covered with sheet iron, painted white as are the wooden houses of the habitants in the back country of his youth. The inside was also paneled in sheet iron and of a repoussé design, which was painted a pale, delicate green. At the same time, Father Dion allowed Brother André to present a petition to Archbishop Bruchesi that the shrine be enlarged by building a nave, or at least a shed, to shelter the congregation. The Archbishop refused, on the reasonable grounds that such a church might become a charge on the Archdiocese, which it could ill afford. Brother André was bitterly disappointed, but he prayed all the harder. It was about this time that Brother André paid a brief visit to Saint Césaire, which resulted in a charming incident described in the official summation of the cause. A little boy, 5 or 6 years old, the son of Liguori Berthiaume, limped up to Brother André using one crutch. "Will you cure me, Brother André?" he asked with great confidence. With a twinkle, Brother André said, "Go ask permission of your mamma to be cured." And forgetting his crutch, the child ran to ask his mother. Such happy incidents atoned for the troubles of the time. In addition to the refusal of the Archbishop to permit enlarging the chapel, Father Dion had forbidden Brother André to receive the sick in the parlor of the college during visiting hours. He would not even allow them to wait inside. It must be admitted that the crowds had grown so great that the waiting room was terribly congested. In summer, Brother André could receive them at the oratory in his free time, but in winter it was closed. So they took to waiting for him in the tramway station on Queen Mary Road in front of the college. It was a strangely ornate little building with 2 steeple-like excrescences of tortured Victorian ironwork. What the transit company had spent on decor, they saved on comfort. It was unheated and open on the side facing the tracks, and waiting there in sub-zero weather was a rigorous test of faith. In 1907, a group of devout Montreal businessmen formed an association called the Work of the Oratory to assist Brother André in his plan to enlarge the building. And this time, Father Dion, who was rapidly succumbing to the simple faith of his porter, offered to take the petition to the Archbishop himself. As he left for his appointment, Brother André said, "Have you got a St. Joseph's medal?" "No," the superior replied. "Take this one," said the porter, "and hold it tightly in your hand while you are talking to His Excellency." Archbishop Bruchesi provisionally refused to sanction the work by saying that he must actually see the money raised. Thus he left the door open a crack. Brother André's faith and determination needed no more. By the spring of 1908, there was enough money to build a sort of wooden canopy back of the oratory, and later in the summer, this was enclosed in wooden walls sheathed with tar paper. In the autumn, a small charcoal stove was set in one corner, and now the shrine could be used all winter. The new nave was not an object of beauty. It was 100 feet long and looked like an elongated cowshed attached to the rear of the original shrine. But the day of its dedication, November 22nd, 1908, was another of the great moments of Brother André's life. Yet, while he happily listened to the superior provincial, Father Dion, said the blessing and celebrated Mass, he pictured a basilica. He pictured a basilica with a glorious dome, second only to St. Peter's in Rome. Well, the shrine continued to grow slowly, but as inevitably as one of the great oaks in the mountainside. An electric light was installed, the walls of the nave were sheathed in sheet iron, and Monsieur Joseph Paquet of Montreal presented a bronze bell weighing over 1,000 pounds to summon the faithful. In mid-July 1909, Brother André was relieved of his duty as porter at Notre Dame, and he was named official guardian of the oratory. He left the porter's cell in which he had lived for 30 years and moved to a room in a small kiosk which had been built for the convenience of the pilgrims close to his beloved shrine. But Brother André did not rest content. His next step was to request his superior to assign a priest to offer daily Mass at the chapel. Father Dion threw up his hands. "I have none to spare," he said. "Every priest here is overworked." "What about Father Clément?" asked the brother. "You know he has gone blind," said Father Dion. "He cannot read his breviary or the Mass. He would be of no use to you." "Send him to me anyway," said Brother André. Father Adolphe Clément had been gradually losing his eyesight over a period of 8 years and had become almost blind. Though he was a strong middle-aged man, he was sadly reduced to being virtually a pensioner of Holy Cross, unable to fulfill his priestly duties. The day after Brother André made his request, one of the brothers guided Father Clément up the steep road to the oratory and brought him to Brother André. What followed is vouchsafed for by the testimony of several eyewitnesses, including Brother Philippe Sauret, a professor at Notre Dame at the time. Brother André spoke to Father Clément, saying to him, "I need you to help me with the sick and in my work at the oratory." Father Clément replied, "What use can I be to you with my bad eyesight?" To which Brother André answered, "Tonight you will read your breviary, and tomorrow you will say the Mass." And so it happened. Father Clément's eyes were cured, and he was able to read his breviary that night and say the Mass the following day. Father Clément became the right arm of Brother André in his work at the oratory. It is a matter of record that Father Clément was acting as curé of the oratory until 1926. And that year he became superior at St. Joseph's Oratory and served in that position until 1934. For over 20 years he was able to read without eyeglasses, only needing them in the last years of his long life. End of chapter 6. And that's a good place to stop for today. Well, please check the link below the video. The description has a link for a printout of the Novena prayer, and you can print that double-sided and with a short-sided binding and fold it, and you have a little booklet-like thing here, like we give out in the church. And there is also a link in the description below the video for another video where you can pray along with us. So I hope you will pray along now in our video prayers. Be thinking about your intentions for this novena. We should have a great sense of confidence, especially seeing this blind priest was cured, to say Mass and to read his breviary. Well, don't hesitate to ask for something big. Ask for something big. You may as well. You may not get what you ask for, but you will get something very good from St. Joseph. And that's my experience with him. I ask him for all sorts of things, and I always get something really good, but not necessarily what I asked for, or certainly in a way that I wouldn't expect it to be answered. Have confidence and keep praying. And please join me tomorrow for the 6th day in our novena to St. Joseph, and don't miss a day of prayer with us.